All right, my number 10 team, the Seattle Seahawks. I got them at 10, man. They keep winning. They do. They keep winning. What else you want them to do to get into the power rankings? I had to do it. The defense is still good. Russell Wilson is not amazing anybody, but he's not beating them. It's that simple. He's not causing them to lose games. Yeah? What?
Do I have to say anything? The Seahawks. The Seahawks.
10.
I will give you 10 teams right now in my top 10 that would all beat the Seahawks. Well, maybe not because 2 of them lost to them.
But, all right, well, boom. There's your answer right there. 2 of them already lost to them.
But in the
playoffs, one of them got robbed. I won't argue that.
In the playoffs,
this isn't the playoffs. Win? This is right now.
I know. Right now, they're not number 10.
Yeah, in my book, they're number 10. Who's number 10 for you?
Steelers.
See, I had Steelers higher than that.
See, I don't.
I think the Steelers are starting to. I think Big Ben in this offense are starting to figure out this Todd Haley.
Who you left out? Because I got a pretty solid top 10 here, and I'm wondering who got left out for the Seahawks. And especially if you say you got the Steelers higher. Who got left out for the Seahawks?
I don't know. We'll find out.
Give me your number 9.
My number 9, I got the Patriots.
All right, we're in agreement. So we're going to move on.
You got the Pats at 9?
I got the Pats at 9. Who got at 8?
I got the Pack at 8.
All right, I got Denver at 8.
You got Denver at 8? I got the Pack at 8 just simply for the fact that I still don't really trust their defense too much. The injury to Charles Woodson's a pretty big deal to me. That rookie, I can't remember the rookie off the top of my head from USC, outside linebacker they drafted to play along Clay Matthews. I can't remember his name. I know everything else about the guy. Nick Perry. Nick Perry? Son Perry.
Not Nick, I don't think. Maybe, I don't know.
Perry. I'm pretty sure Perry is the last name. Either which way, he's hurt as well. So, you know, the injuries to their defense, Matthew Perry. The injuries to their defense make me a little bit nervous. Rodgers looks like he's starting to find a little bit of a groove, but still, I mean, he went 16 of like 30 this past weekend. It's not like that's not Aaron Rodgers like. Yeah,
but he also had Jordy Nelson go down early.
Yeah, and that's another thing. Jordy Nelson fighting injuries. Greg Jennings fighting injuries. You're down to James Jones and Randall Cobb as your 2. Cobb's a slot guy. He's not an outside the numbers wide receiver. He's fast enough to go out there, but it's all schemed. He cannot play outside the numbers all game. You saw him early in the season when they had healthy wide receivers. They had him lined up in the backfield. They had him here. They had him there. He was like their own version of Percy Harvin.
Yeah.
The injuries make me nervous with the Packers.
See, I have Denver at 8 for the fact that I watched them this week and they almost struggled against Cincinnati. They just, I think there's still some growing pains there with Peyton to come, even though he's been playing great. I think that he's bound to have a bad game coming up. Where it's going to happen and how Denver's going to lose, I don't know, but I don't know. I don't have a lot of confidence in them right this second. They haven't been running the ball well the last couple weeks. Defense has given up a bunch of points, a bunch of drives. They're not looking like the same defense they looked like last year. So for all those reasons, I got them at number 8. But I have your Pack at number 7 for all the reasons that you said, but I still think Aaron Rodgers is
too good,
way too good to let his team fall that far. So I got the Pack at 7.
I actually went with San Francisco at 7. The reason I have San Francisco at 7 is strictly for the fact that I don't trust this team if they trail. And out of all the teams in my entire top 10, them and the Seahawks are the only 2 teams that I don't trust if they're behind. If they are behind in a game, I don't trust the team to win. And that's my issue with San Francisco. Now, if they get a lead, I don't think pretty much anybody in the NFL is beating them. Just because I think that defense is that damn tenacious but that's what bothers me. You're not always going to get a lead to start a game. You might go down 10-0 and need to win. And that's what I just don't trust San Francisco with Alex Smith right now. Well, they just haven't shown me a reason to trust them. And I also think the fact that I think they haven't played since, they had a bye this week. So I feel like every time you have a bye week, a team sort of falls back in your mind, and I think that might also contribute to them being 7 for me. So who you got at 6?
Baltimore.
Baltimore. Oh, there's a team I left out. You were trying to figure out who I left out? That's the team I left out.
Stop it. You are telling me that even though
if Baltimore went to Seattle, they'd lose.
You're out of your mind. You're on crack.
If Baltimore went to Seattle, they'd lose.
You got to have your...
They lost last year to Tavares Jackson.
Listen, how do you
Baltimore, in Seattle with a healthy Ray Lewis, a healthy Terrell Suggs, and a healthy Ed Reed, and they still lost in Seattle last year.
We're talking
with
this
Tavares Jackson.
How do you have Green Bay and the Patriots, who have both lost to Seattle, ahead of Seattle, but have a team that is 6-2 out of your top 10?
I just don't.
A team leading your division. And you have the Steelers higher?
I do have the Steelers
Oh, my
higher.
God.
They play twice in the next 4 weeks.
I think if you relook at your list again, you're going to look at it and go, well, maybe I should have went differently.
If you want the honest-to-God truth, if I did this list 5 days a week, I'd have 5 different lists. My opinion on who's the best teams in the NFL
look at my list and
much.
I would have the same power rankings all week long. I look at my list and I'm like, I really don't think I could change it until next Sunday. Now, after next Sunday, everything can change.
I might change a team.
I think you should change Seattle
I would
now.
without a doubt change order almost every day of the week. I really would, because to me, it's the NFL. You're talking any given Sunday.
You have stumped me this week, my friend. You have
That's
stumped
awesome.
me because I am
9 weeks of power rankings. I finally threw you for a loop.
Yeah, but I almost feel like you did it almost as a spoof on me.
I think Seattle could beat Baltimore.
I think you're crazy.
I think Seattle could beat Baltimore.
Have you been late night, with Wilson again?
No.
Have you been he's been whispering some sweet nothings in your ear about his Seattle ball club, because something's going on there. There's something a little fishy about how Baltimore gets left out and Seattle's in.
My number 6, ladies. That one I can't really argue with you on, but I really do think that
who
if
you
they
got
play
at 6?
head-to-head,
I'm speechless at this point. I just want to know who you got at 6.
I got the Pittsburgh Steelers at 6.
Okay,
I put Pittsburgh at 6. The defense without Polamalu still makes me nervous, but it seems like the offense. It's almost like Todd Haley purposely sucks early in the game, so that he can use what he sucked at early in the game to trick you late in the game. It's pretty much how I feel he coaches a game. Like, I feel like he keeps trying to set you up, and then sooner or later he runs the same play 4, 5, 6 times, and then all of a sudden in the fourth quarter he goes to give you the same play, and it's completely different but looks exactly the same. And I've noticed that the past 2 weeks of watching this team, where he sets you up to get you late in the game. He really does. Everything I've watched, every couple games I've watched, that seems to be his goal. Let me run this over and over again early in the game, and then I'm going to throw you for a complete loop when we line up in that same formation late in the game. And I think that it blows my mind with how bad I think Pittsburgh's offensive line is, but they've had a 100-yard rusher for three or four straight weeks now. And I'm sorry, for the injuries they've dealt with and what their offensive line seems to be, that shocks the hell out of me. So I got to give them credit there. Mike Wallace seems to be pretty much, for the most part, finding his groove. He had some drops a week or two ago, but seems to be finding his groove. Heath Miller seems to have a nice little spot in this offense. And let's be serious, Dick LeBeau's Dick LeBeau. I mean, no Troy Polamalu makes a big difference, but Dick LeBeau is Dick LeBeau. The guy knows how to game plan a defense. He just does. That simple.
Who you got a 5, though?
Did you give your a 6?
Yeah, Baltimore.
Baltimore. Your G-men. I put your G-men, even though they lost to the Steelers, I put your G-men above the Steelers. Because I still think that if you play it again, I think the G-men should have won this game. You take away the one big Mike Wallace play, the G-men pretty much win this game. And not to mention, how many times is Eli Manning going to play as bad as he played against Pittsburgh?
Not many.
So they got him on a good week. I still think the Giants are better than the Steelers. But the Giants' defense and the lack of consistency makes me nervous if I'm a Giants fan. So that's why I have them at the edge of my top 5.
Got the 49ers at the edge of mine.
Okay.
I take into consideration what you said before about them having to jump out early to a lead, and you have a point there, but I still think by the end of the year, they're going to be a team that when it comes playoff time, you're not going to want to go out to Candlestick and play.
No.
You're not going to want to travel out west. Even though the Giants did it last year, they're not going to want to do it. You're not going to want to have to make that trip. To me, they're still one of the best offensive squads, even though they haven't necessarily looked like it at times, with Gore, with Vernon Davis, with all the weapons they have on the outside with Crabtree and Moss and Manningham. And Alex Smith is a good game manager. He's done well there. Their defense is still one of the top defenses in the league. They're balanced, and I like them. I don't care. I have them lower than my Giants because the Giants beat them earlier this year, but 6-2 is nothing to shake your head at. You know, can't be down about that. Nobody expects them to go undefeated.
Yeah, right.
So I look at them as I still don't want to play them, even though we beat them and we beat them good. I still wouldn't want to play them in the playoffs.
No, honestly, if you're as a Giant fan, I wouldn't want to play them either, just for the fact that you know they're gonna play you with an even bigger. But that's, you know what? Don't even listen to that comment, because I wouldn't have any bigger chip on my shoulder than the team that knocked me out from making the Super Bowl. So the fact that you kicked their butts this season already, I don't think they'd be more mad about the butt whooping you put on them this year than they were from what happened last year. So I don't even need to say that anymore. My apologies. Number 4, I actually went with the Broncos. I have them that high for the fact, and you know, like I said, if I do this again, I probably would change some things, because I'm sitting here and now that I'm thinking a little differently, I don't know. But I put them at 4 because of this. Their offense seems to have found the groove that they want to have with Peyton Manning. And to me, once you find that offensively, you figure out everything else as it goes, because honestly, they never ran the damn ball in Indianapolis, so what the hell do they care about doing it in Denver? What I like is that their defense is not letting teams go up 20 points now. I mean, it's only been 2 weeks in a row, but they're not. And if they...
No, but Cincinnati could have easily won this week.
Oh, yes, they could, but Cincinnati's a good team. They're not great. They're not one of the best in the league, but it's not like they have a crap team.
And running the ball does matter in the NFL, believe it or not. You
I
have
know.
to be able to control the clock. You can't just throw it around and then give the other team the ball back a minute and a half later.
And that's why they were going down 20 points, because they were throwing the ball, they weren't doing anything, and the defense was spending too much time on the field. I completely agree with you on that. But my only thing is simply this. I look at this Denver defense, Von Miller and Elvis Dumerville are starting to get to the quarterback. Champ Bailey is playing pretty decent football for a guy that's in his mid-30s and plays corner. I mean, I'm impressed with what Champ Bailey's doing, to be completely honest with you.
He's been great for years.
Oh, I know, but it's just you're waiting for that year to come when you're finally like, well, his age caught up to him. And it just seems like he just doesn't want to it just won't happen. You know, I mean, think about it. Him and Charles Woodson for the past decade have just been lights out cornerbacks for a decade. It's unbelievable. But I think this Denver defense is getting better, and I also think their offense is getting better. I do agree they should work a little more with the run game. McGahee, since he had a big game, hasn't done much.
Well, no, but the thing is that they have been running the ball. McGahee's been averaging like between 15 and 20 carries a game. It's the fact that they're not having the success they had early in the year.
Which is surprising, since they're throwing the ball better. You would expect.
That's what I didn't like. Not the fact that they weren't running, but the fact that they're just not run. They're still creating those opportunities, and they're still giving the ball to McGahee, because let's face it, McGahee's a good running back. But they're just not getting the same success that they got earlier in the year from it.
Which could be, a lot of that could be based on the fact that your offensive linemen are practicing pass blocking. I mean, there's a lot of different things that can contribute to that. Or it could be mean absolutely nothing, and it's just McGahee's not running that well. It's a matter of execution at the end of the game. It's a matter of the fact that Peyton Manning is always somebody you can rely on. And I just think that the Broncos are just as good at 4 as they are. What you had them at 8?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think they could fit in either slot. They're still a top 10 team, and I think that's the bottom line to it. But either which way, you're number 4?
Giants.
The G-men?
The Giants.
All right, so you don't have them. Okay, I thought you had them at like 2.
No.
Okay, I could live with them at 4. I don't think that's a bad call.
Yep, got them at 4. I
See,
still think
so
that
then you feel the same way I feel, even though they lost to the Steelers, you still think they're better than the Steelers.
I still think they're better than the Steelers. The biggest problem I've had with the Giants the last few weeks, the last 2 weeks really, they stopped running the ball. Now, maybe that's because Bradshaw's more banged up, but he's always banged up, I feel like.
He is always, but he's a tough man.
They are not running the ball well. They're just not. It's just not.
It's just not.
It's not happening. They're, and they don't look like the same team when they don't run the ball well. When they run the ball well, it opens more things up for Eli and the guys outside. When you could just focus on Nix and Cruz and not worry because the Giants aren't running the ball, it really affects the Giants' offense. And I think that's the biggest key on why they've struggled the last 2 weeks.
And I could see that. I mean, let's keep in mind they did go against 2 really good, pretty damn good run defenses. I mean, both teams are, Dallas and Pittsburgh, both top 10 in the NFL when it comes down to yards allowed per game. It's not like they went up against Joe Schmo. But if I'm a Giants fan, like I said before, the thing that worries me is the inconsistency in the secondary. That some moments they can look like they're the greatest secondary out there, and in other moments they look like nothing. If I'm a Giants fan, though, I'm excited about Justin Tuck. 2 sacks for the whole season, and then has 3 in the last 2 games.
Yeah.
So I mean, whether he's starting to get into midseason form or he just is trying hard, who cares what the reason is? But 3 sacks in 2 games has to make you pretty happy. Could be going against 2, average offensive lines in Dallas and Pittsburgh. I don't know. But 3 sacks in 2 games, you got to be happy about it. So at number 3, I put the Houston Texans. Now, I feel like 1, 2, 3 can flip-flop any which way. I think you're splitting hairs when you look at these three teams. Each team runs very similar offenses. Out of anybody, I think Atlanta's probably the most different. I got Houston at 3, Atlanta at 2, and Chicago at 1. The Chicago defense
I got Chicago at 3, Houston at 2, the Falcons at 1.
Okay. But I think you're splitting hairs when you look at those 3 teams. And that's why I read all 3 at the same time, because I knew you had all 3 of them in the same, top 3 area. And I just think when you look at these 3 teams, Chicago, Atlanta, and Houston, you are splitting hairs. All 3 of them have good running backs. I'll take Forte or Foster over Turner, but all 3 have good running backs. Now, I'll take Julio Jones and Roddy White over Brandon Marshall and Hester, or Andre Johnson and Kevin Walter. I'll take the Bears defense, or the Bears or Texans defense, over Atlanta's defense. I feel like you're splitting hairs amongst these 3 teams. I like Matt Ryan the most out of the 3 quarterbacks. You know what I'm trying to say? You're just splitting hairs with these guys.
Yeah.
And I think all 3 teams are really good. I think all 3 teams have the potential to go and make a really nice run at things. And each team's shown weaknesses, each team's shown strengths, and I think no matter how you look at it, we're probably going to have the same 3 teams in the top 3 next week as well.